I'm Farhan Dalla, transformational trainer, and welcome to Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast, an invitation to take the journey towards your deepest self. It is my intention to inspire you to connect, move, and meditate. We'll tap in, tune in, and dive in, and together learn and reflect from authentic, real, and transformative conversations. Let's get started. Disclaimer: the information in this episode is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have a medical condition, please consult with a medical practitioner. Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today, my guest is Amira Puravida. Amira is a wellness advocate, singer, and certified life coach, specializing in chronic health and gut issues. After healing her own chronic migraines, gut dysfunction, and persistent symptoms, she developed a root cause approach centered on nervous system support and sustainable healing. Through her coaching practice, she helps people who feel stuck and overwhelmed, especially those who haven't found answers through conventional approaches, finally understand their bodies, reduce symptoms, and regain a sense of control. She calls it the Pura Vida or Pure Life approach to wellness. Hi, Amira. How are you?
Hi, Farhan. I'm good. So glad to be here and talk to you.
Well, thank you. And just looking at you today, I would not have imagined that you've gone through, everything that you have. I mean, I've read your story. I've read all the notes that you sent me talking about your experience, and I'm just like eager to learn how you healed. So I think I want to start this conversation by understanding what is a migraine and describe to me how it feels, the symptoms, etc.
Yeah. Okay. So a migraine, 'cause a lot of people think it's just a bad headache, and it's that times 10. So it's a very, very severe type of head pain, throbbing. So there's a lot of throbbing, sensitivity to light. Um, it's really hard to be around any kind of light, sunlight or fluorescent lights. A lot of pain, of course, back of the neck. So just a really, like I said, a headache times 10. It feels like a knife. Sometimes it can feel like a knife is hitting you in the head. Some people have nausea with it, and it's very debilitating. You really can't do much once you get a full blown migraine. You've got to be in the dark with ice packs. I lived most of my life in the dark because of it, and you can't function. So it's very
Mm.
debilitating for sure.
And we all know someone that suffers from migraines. And as a physiotherapist, I come across this in many of my patients' history. I also have family members and friends that suffer from migraines. But when I read the statistics, I was amazed at how prevalent of an issue it is for so many people. According to the World Health Organization, a migraine is a common neurological disorder affecting over 1 billion people globally, with a higher prevalence in women, about 15 to 17% of women, than men, 5 to 8% of men. It ranks as the third highest cause of disability worldwide, often affecting adults aged 20 to 50. Roughly 2% of the population suffers from chronic migraine. Roughly 1 in 7 people globally suffer from migraines. Females are 3 times more likely to experience migraines than males. And it primarily affects adults at the ages of 20 to 50, but it also impacts 10% of children, which amazed me. And then 1 to 2% of the global population lives with chronic migraines, defined as having a migraine for more than 15 plus days per month. That is unbelievable. Like, how many years were you suffering from your migraines?
Migraines, about 30 years. Chronic headaches, even longer than that, closer to 40.
Wow.
So
And
almost my whole life.
yeah, that is a long time. What was your life like before you began your healing journey from chronic illness and specifically your healing with, your chronic migraines? Like, what was life like? You described, not being able to function, being disabled. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, with the chronic illness thing, it's honestly hard to remember when I was fully healthy because I was probably 6 years old. So, so it's hard to remember a life without pain. Um, prior because like since I was 6 I was having this chronic issue, but it got progressively worse. So yeah, let's say from 6 to 13 I was still living a pretty normal life, and then after 13, 14, that's when it started to get to a higher level of disability, of pain. And so that's when it really started to affect my life. So your question was, oh, what was life like before
before
the
your
chronic,
healing.
before the
Yeah,
healing.
before.
So oh, right. So
Mhm.
basically, yeah, I mean, I was on disability even at one point. That's how bad the migraines got. So I was always trying to work, and then I'd have to quit a job because of the pain was too much. So I was always in this like trying, and then I'd burn myself out and have to stop. And then I was always stopping and starting, trying to go to school. I mean, I even ended up I got a master's degree somehow, but I was like always in pain in school and pushing through. I was pushing the whole time
Right.
because I wanted to not let this rule my life. But it was a very tough existence because I was always in pain, always on
Yeah.
medication, always fearful when the next one was going to strike. So it was like a very nervous, very stressful existence day every single
Mhm.
day. That
Mhm.
was prior. Yeah, and always trying, of course, all the conventional methods of healing and natural methods, and always on a healing journey trying to heal. But nothing was working.
And I'm amazed you were able to get a master's degree while going through all this. Like, that's a lot of work just to get through school. There's studying,
Yeah.
exams, writing papers. But how did it affect your personal relationships? Like, were you able to date? Were you able to have friends? Were you able to have a social life?
Yeah, all of this stuff was just it was so minimal. I was always trying to do all of these things, but I feel like the quality of all of it suffered because I was pushing through. So yeah, like with the dating, it's like I would try, and then it's like I couldn't go out and do things a lot of times. So that would affect, and it would affect my self-esteem too, and my kind of my self-worth, because I felt like, well, I can't do this and that. So that makes you feel bad about yourself. So that's not good, going into any kind of dating relationships with that kind of mentality. And schooling too, just trying to get through with tons of medication. So my studies, like, they were okay, but it could have been better. Personal relationships, I could never make plans with friends. Would try to explain like I can't plan anything because I don't know if I'm gonna have to cancel. And I always was feeling bad. I found myself always feeling bad because I always had to cancel on people. And yeah, and then I started isolating. You naturally start to isolate because it's easier rather than trying to
Mhm.
explain and people don't understand or they get disappointed. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do stuff on myself because it's just easier and it's less stress on me. So that's kind of I got into very much of an isolation because of that.
I imagine this really impacted your mental health as well.
For sure, for sure. Anxiety, depression, directly correlated with the pain and with the quality of life suffering. I definitely lived with constant anxiety, not knowing when I was going to have a migraine, and also depression because I was depressed that I couldn't do so many things. I was missing out on so much. So yeah,
Mhm.
mental health was definitely affected.
And what were the
Mhm.
medical practitioners, telling you? I mean, you're going from practitioner to practitioner,
Yeah.
trying different things. What was the medical community saying about all of this?
I
Did they
mean,
offer any sort of help or support or?
yeah, I mean, the extent of it was, eventually I started seeing a neurologist, which is, a specialist for this. And, of course, we did the MRIs, everything came out normal. All the scans were normal. Medication, it was really like management, medication management, um, even Botox. I even got Botox. I was part of a clinical study for a new migraine drug. I did an infusion. It was like the latest thing for migraine. So I really had good doctors that had access to these things, but all of this was just management, like just so I can get through the day. And then I was taking more medication than I was supposed to because you're only supposed to take like 3 days a week. I was taking it every day and it stopped working. So it just became a thing where I was running out of options. And my
Mhm.
neurologist basically fired me. I mean, he basically told me, not fired me, but he's like, there's nothing else for you. I don't have anything for you. That was
Wow.
scary. He's like, I don't know what else to do for you. And when your neurologist tells you that, you're like,
Yeah, how did that
where do
make
I
you
go?
feel? vertigo, but you didn't
completely.
stop. Yeah.
I didn't stop, but I
Yeah.
was freaked out. That's when I really realized that I'm on my own and I'm gonna have to figure this out on my own because the doctors can't even help me. Nothing's helping. Even like, what do you call it? I'd have to go to the ER and get the morphine, like the really strong drugs for the pain. And sometimes that wouldn't break up the pain. So I was like, okay, I'm either going to die or I have to heal myself because there's the medical world and definitely the naturopathic world. No one could help me. No herb, no anything. As much as I love all that stuff, it was not working for the migraines.
Did you ever, like, turn to prayer or ask for help or
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the church and I was always asking for prayers and healings and praying myself daily, prayers and spirituality and all that has always been a part of my life and mind body. I was always searching, but again,
Uh-huh.
it's like I couldn't find answers. I couldn't find answers until later.
Right, and then eventually you found or discovered the work of Dr. Joe. How did you learn about Dr. Joe, and how did you know that this man and in all his knowledge could help you,
Yeah. I
given
think
everything that you've been through? Like
Yeah, no, I think a few things were leading up to that. I'm going to start by saying that about a year prior to discovering his work, I did make a solid decision. I'm going to heal. That it was a decision, and I never made a decision in that way. Like I said, I'm going to heal no matter how long it takes, no matter what it takes. So it started, I think, with that, and I think that started to attract different things into my life because I started to find like a meditation app. There was one that I tried and I started doing it every night. I was like, I'm kind of feeling good with this. And shortly after, I came across Dr. Joe on a podcast. I think it was with Lewis Howard or something. And something about the way he explained things, it clicked for me. Immediately
Mhm.
clicked. The way he explained these complex things in a way I could understand, I was like, okay, I could follow this. He has like a formula, he has a program. And I instantly knew, I said, this guy's going to help me heal. I'm going to dive in. And I did a deep dive into his stuff like right away. And I just
Yeah,
started, yeah. And of course, I can tell you about all the things I did, but that's how
yeah.
I just happened to come across him because I was watching different things, I guess, along those lines. And his thing popped up in 2020.
Okay, and for those who don't know, Dr. Joe Dispenza is a chiropractor, author,
Mhm.
and lecturer. He's known for his work on mind body healing, neuroscience, and personal transformation, blending quantum physics with ancient wisdom to teach people how to change their reality through meditation and changing beliefs, stemming from his own recovery from a spinal injury. Dr. Joe has retreats where he teaches this material, and I will leave the link to his website where you can learn more about him. But I want to start breaking things down through your journey. So you started the meditations, but what else did you do as far as learning his from his teachings? Did you do the read his books? Did you go to retreats? What did you do?
I'll tell you exactly what I did. So the very first thing I did was he has a show called Rewired on Gaia. It's a channel with like different spiritual things. I ordered the subscription for that and I watched the entire episode, the entire show in within a week because I really wanted to learn everything first that way. Um, I started doing the meditations, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, right before bed, right in the morning. And I bought all the books. I started the progressive. I signed up for the progressive right away because I wanted to start actually really learning and listening to the lectures. I approached it like it was school, like it was university. I said, this is Dr. Joe University, Healing University. So I really went
Yeah.
all in. I really went all in and did everything. That my life was just dedicated to that, to healing.
Well, I can imagine when you were a student, you knew how to push through all this. So at this point, are you still pushing through despite the pain? You're having headaches. You're sitting in the dark with ice packs, you know, no
Yeah.
fluorescent lighting, and you're still going through the material.
Right. Okay. So I guess you could say pushing through, yes, in the sense, because of course, if I were to say I'm not going to meditate because I'm in pain, I would never heal. So yes, I was pushing through. I would keep ignoring that pain and letting my body, that I call that the pain body, let that stay on the bed as I elevate during my meditations. It was a mental thing I did every time that I am leaving this pain body behind and I'm going to create a new body. So it was a repetition. of
Okay.
this that allowed me to eventually heal. But yeah, I pushed through, but but it didn't feel like pushing in a bad way. It was pushing through for something good. And I knew
Mhm.
I had to. I didn't have a choice. My back was against the wall. I had to do it to survive.
Sounds like you're really determined.
Yeah.
Did you at some point feel or learn that there was a connection between your body, your emotions, and your migraines?
Yeah, I think I got a better understanding of what it was because I always lumped everything under just stress. Everything's stressful, stress, stress. I think I learned about emotion like fear. Fear was really at the core of this fear of the next migraine, fear that I'm not going to survive, like so much fear. So I learned about that emotion and kind of how to start to heal that. And so I think just identifying what the emotions were that were contributing, I think was a big part of it. And understanding
Mhm.
about the nervous system, I never really understood, it's when it's in that fight or flight mode versus not, and how to get it into that relaxed mode. So just training and understanding. I love how it was broken down in a way I could understand. So I can make changes.
What was the first sign that you got that you felt that this is working and I'm getting better?
It's interesting how it happened for me. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. I just kept doing the work, and I actually consciously decided, like, I was not going to look for progress. I wasn't gonna track my progress or look for healing because I felt like that was gonna make me not heal. So, my whole thing was keep doing it, and eventually it'll be gone. So, it wasn't like one day I was like, "Ooh, this is working." All I know is that I felt better, emotionally, psychologically, but
Mhm.
physically, the symptoms were still there. It wasn't until a year later that I kinda noticed, like, "Oh, like, I took less pills this month. Oh." But I didn't really think about it. I didn't talk about it. I just kept doing it. I wanted to make sure it was real. So it took a year, but a year later, I healed them, and they never came back.
A year later, you completely healed and
Yeah,
it never came back.
yeah.
How did you feel? You're looking at a history of 30 years of headaches, mental health. You know, did you
Yeah.
what did you do to acknowledge the work that you did in some way? Like, how did you honor this journey?
It was a quiet acknowledgement, a sacred acknowledgement because it was so sacred to me. I didn't even wanna talk about it because gratitude, it's deep gratitude. It's, "Wow, this is a miracle," but it's also not a miracle. It is a miracle, but also it's also about me learning how to heal myself. So it was very empowering, very empowering. Many emotions, many things. Gratitude, but that's mainly gratitude, empowerment. Um, wow, like wish I knew this earlier. All of those things. But yeah, it's a great feeling.
What do you think shifted as far as your relationship with yourself after you felt better?
Oh,
How
yeah,
did the
definitely.
relationship with yourself change?
A lot more giving myself a lot more grace, a lot more self-love, and we hear the self-love thing a lot, but really, like, because I used to think I love myself. I said, "Oh, yeah, I take care of myself. I eat healthy. I do all this." I always said that, but I realized I didn't have that level, the deep, the deep
Uh-huh.
self-love that I started to gain and the self-worth. A lot of those things are taken from you when you have these health issues for so long, it just chips away. So just rebuilding that. And yeah, seeing myself like, wow, I've been through all this and I've survived this, I've done this. You start to really value yourself very highly and not allow certain energies around you anymore after all that you've been through.
And how would you say this changed your relationships with others, loved ones,
Um,
friends?
let me see. Definitely more love. More love. I feel like I can see inside people more, it's because learning with that heart brain coherence that we learn. I never really attached the brain and the heart. I never knew there was attachment between them. So I think that allowed me to really open myself up more to loving because I was there was naturally a victim mentality that I had all these years with the health thing. So I always thought it was all my everything was about me because I'm the one in pain. I'm the one in pain. You're okay. So I started to see that no, everyone has their different pains, even if it's not migraines, they have other pains. So I
Mhm,
more empathy. I think more empathy for others. I always did, but more a deeper level of empathy, realizing that you don't have to have physical pain to be suffering in this world. You could have mental pain, different psychological pain, if that makes sense. So
mhm.
yeah, just more. I think deeper empathy for others.
And you also talked earlier a bit about your chronic illness. Was that the gut dysfunction?
I had multiple yeah, I mean, I had multiple things. I would say probably 30 symptoms and conditions throughout
Right.
my life. Just the
Oh,
migraines
in
are the
that
most yeah.
right. So in that 1 year, the migraines, improved as well as the gut dysfunction? All of that healed in 1 year?
No, I'll say that the migraines is what healed 100% in that year. Other
Right.
things
Right.
have, didn't heal completely. I've been healing them. Some are better. Yeah, like the gut stuff is now much better, but that was it was a combination of physical things I needed to fix and mental. The migraines was just straight. That was purely mind, body. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I've been healing other smaller things throughout the time with the things I've learned after healing the migraines. Um,
And
yeah,
and how is your mental health today?
so much better, so much better. Now it's like I can go through something and I know what to do about it. I don't just sit in it. If I'm feeling a certain way, I know it'll pass. It doesn't become my identity.
Hmm. That's amazing. Did you ever go back to the neurologist and let them know that you're better?
Yes, I love that you asked that because I did. I went last year. I went back because I had like a little hip issue. So I said, "Oh, let me see if it's a nerve issue. Let me go back to this guy." And,
Yeah.
yeah, first of all, the same receptionist was there. She was like, she couldn't believe it was me because I used to have my eyes used to be like so tired that I had a certain look in my eyes, super dark circles and just really bad. And yeah, she's like, "You look different and you look great," and all this stuff. I said, "I don't have the migraines anymore." She couldn't believe it. They even have a picture in the system that from 10 years ago of me. And I just was sad. I saw it and I just felt sad for her, because I already put her to rest. And I just remember feeling like, wow, that's a different person. That was a different person. So I told the neurologist about it. He couldn't believe it. He's writing down Dr. Joe. He's like, what's the name? He's like getting a notepad, like scribbling, like, how do you spell it? Dr. Joe Dispenza. He couldn't believe it
Uh-huh.
because he sees these cases all the time. And he asked me about my mental health because he knew I had depression back then. I said, I don't have depression anymore. He just he couldn't believe it, but he was really
Right.
like wowed by it. So it was cool. It was really cool for him to see me 10 years later as a different person.
And it's interesting because I've met many physicians who attend Dr. Joe's retreat, and, the medical community is certainly becoming more aware, but it's amazing that I'm actually meeting them at the retreats because they're there to learn about, Dr. Joe's teachings, and also some of them I think he has, like, a program specific for physicians as well that, he does,
Okay.
but, it's amazing, and I talk about this in my own healing journey when I went back to my chiropractor for a follow-up X-ray, and they pulled up the 2 images, one that diagnosed my scoliosis in October 2024. 1 year later, I had just come back from a Dr. Joe retreat. I absolutely knew I was healed, and she pulled up the image of the new X-ray we'd taken, and my spine was perfectly aligned, and she's just looking at me like, "What in the world?" And so I
Oh,
think, what we're doing is at least planting seeds in the medical community to see, like, there are things that can complement, medicine. There are things that can support beyond, allopathic care that involve mind-body connection, and as you said, brain and heart coherence. And so hopefully with our stories and, you know, and speaking to the doctors and the medical community, that they can maybe consider referring their clients or patients to, Dr. Joe's website and say, go do your research, but this is another option for you, especially for people like yourself who are in that situation where there was no other option and he'd done everything that he possibly could from a neurologist standpoint and being a
Right.
specialist,
Right, and one of the
and
best specialists, yeah, crazy.
thankfully you didn't stop. But for others who may not be aware, there's other options. So that's so cool. What would you say to someone who feels stuck in chronic illness right now and maybe doesn't believe they can heal?
I would say, well, first of all, I would say I understand that feeling because when you've been sick that long, you lose hope. It's hard to believe. So I understand, and but I want to say that there's definitely hope, as you can see from my story. And also, a lot of times, like one thing I did with myself, it's just starting with small steps, not feeling like you have to fix everything at once. Just start with small steps towards it. And then the belief comes because once you start to see little improvements, that's what builds that belief and that inspiration. So definitely don't try to manufacture that belief. The belief will come naturally, it'll come organically.
Hmm. That's amazing. How has life changed for you? How are you living life today?
Oh my gosh, I have a life. I actually have a life now. I mean, I can do, regular, I can be active. I can exercise. I can be one of the big things for me since I was living in the dark for so long is being in the light. Like I love being in the sun and, I can open the windows. It used to be just dark all the time wherever I'd have to close the shades everywhere. So being able to have light in my eyes and that's a big part of like healing stuff that I teach and that I do for myself using light for healing. It's just so healing for the body. So being able to be in the sun and be in the light is huge for me. Being active, being able to do more social, activities and just be able to do more. I mean, to have a business, the fact that I even could have a business, I couldn't even work at one point at all, the business helping others. So I have a life and able to do things I couldn't do at all. I couldn't even fathom.
And today you work as a coach. Were you always a coach, or is that something that you started after your healing journey?
I was always a coach in different ways because I used to be a school counselor. So I was always like doing some form of counseling, but it was a little bit different, not so much with the wellness. But yeah, 2019, I kind of started, 2020, started doing some of the health coaching. And then it just kind of evolved more into mind body as I was healing myself of those things. I got more into mind body, not just diet, lifestyle, but incorporating the mind body connection, which is really the foundation of so much of it.
Yeah, and what type of clients do you work with? Who is your
Um,
typical client?
I mean, it's mostly women. It's men and women, but mostly women that are stuck either with health issues, weight issues, which the weight has a big correlation with nervous system and again mind body. It's not just diet and exercise. But yeah, people that feel stuck, gut issues, so chronic issues. They've tried everything and they want to talk with someone who's been there and healed themselves. Uh, that's primarily the population, and the ages can range from 30 to
And the
60 or
and the types of conditions that you treat or work with are, headaches as well, migraines
yeah,
and
pain. Yeah, a lot
gut
of pain
dysfunction?
stuff, gut dysfunction. Yeah. And then as well as other things. And like I said, a lot of like the weight, having weight issues, perimenopausal, menopausal women
Mhm.
too. But yeah, mostly it's like the chronic issues. They're stuck. They've tried everything. It's like, what can we do?
Right. There's so much emphasis on the nervous system right now, and there's more talk about how the nervous system is involved with our healing. And that's something that even as a physiotherapist, I'm paying so much attention to because since COVID, most of my patients that come in are in some state of fight or flight. And I immediately recognize the breathing pattern. It's not deep, it's not diaphragmatic, and oftentimes they're breathing in their chest and they look anxious. And naturally, when people come and they feel pain or are in some form of discomfort, they're going to be breathing less deeply. But if I dive in deeper and ask questions about their stresses, I recognize that many of them are in a state of fight or flight. And I literally have to start with breath work to calm them down and get them to be aware. that they are, in fight or flight, and some of them aren't even aware.
Right.
And, my education is always that, well, you can't heal when you're stressed. Your body's putting all this energy towards, the stress and the perceived threat that you would be in a fight or flight condition. And so, what are some tips or suggestions or anything that you can offer as far as what people can do to regulate their nervous system? If that's one thing that, we could all do on a daily basis, that's simple and easy to apply.
Yeah, I love what you just said. I'm always saying the same thing because that's the thing. I always say you can't diet your way out. You can't supplement your way out of a nervous system that is constantly stressed, right? So for me, I'm a back to basics girl, and that's where that pura vida, pure life is all about. Like, let's get back to the basics of using nature, grounding. I'm a huge on grounding, like putting your bare feet on the earth if you can. Like it's so powerful. It directly calms your nervous system and lowers inflammation. This is free. We have access to it. Things like that.
Right.
I
But I'm in
always
Toronto. I'm
Oh,
just going to
yes,
let you know.
yes. Well, well, that's why I have for you guys. I'm a big fan also of devices. I love my PEMF mat. I love red light therapy panels. You know, when you can't use actual nature because of weather, I do recommend different devices if you can have access. And I have them at my office, or I have people buy them for their homes. There's things you can
Uh-huh.
use that can mimic nature's healing properties, right? So a PEMF mat. I use one every day before bed. It helps to calm my nervous system. It gives like a grounding effect without having
Uh-huh.
to go outside. Um, I love red light therapy or using the sun naturally to regulate your sleep and wake cycle. As you know, this totally helps with healing. Sleep is the foundation of healing so much and repairing so much. So I try to give tips that you can use daily and hopefully be free or low cost. I always start with the basics and then we go from there. We build from there. We can go for the fancy equipment too that helps. And I have all those gadgets too to help with healing if
Mhm.
people want. But my approach is let's start with the foundation, meditation, breath work, walking in the morning, whatever you can do and whatever you're gonna do. Each person, not every person's gonna do the meditation every day right away. Like, hey, what do you like to do? Okay, let's do that every day and start with that. And so we build from there.
I have my own red light unit as well. I
Do
mean,
you?
in this city where it's been almost 8 months of winter, I think at
I'm
this point.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh
I
my goodness.
know.
Yeah. It's been one of the worst winters on record, and I don't mean to complain, but it has been challenging, and for a lot of my patients too that come in, it does impact their mood for sure, and it's one more thing that I have to work at, helping them to shift a little bit when they come in so that I can maximize the therapeutic response, right? And it all starts in our minds.
Right.
And so not everyone has access to red light, but I do, and thankfully, I do use it, and I have a yoga practice that I do at night now just to sort of let go of my day. So
Yeah.
like a 10-minute stretching routine that I do on the mat. I do breath work about 2 or 3 times a day. I meditate in the morning. So there's lots of things that you can do. And if you don't have the money, you don't necessarily have to buy any equipment, but there's lots
Right.
of, breath work techniques that are on YouTube now and whatnot. But, again, definitely speak to someone who's a professional like Amira over here who can help you through. So having said that, what would a typical session look like with you?
Oh gosh, it's so different for everyone because it really depends on what they're needing because I do in office and I also do online. So it totally depends if they're coming for like wanting some pain reduction. I do targeted cryotherapy, it helps reduce pain, but we also do the grounding. So I'm always incorporating the healing stuff that they can do at home along with maybe the devices so they can reduce pain so that they can continue to do their meditations or continue to do their healing. So it usually involves half of the time at least of like talking of coaching and where are we at, what are we doing, and then we might go into doing some healing therapies. If it's online, then I have other things that I use. I like to use and sound and light and frequencies to help them with healing things that they can that they can do at home. So yeah, but there's always the dialogue about where we're at and what we can do. It's very individualized for each person.
Amazing. And I want to shift gears a bit and look down the road into, say, a year from now or 2 years from now. What would your future self have to say about you today?
My future self, what would my future self say about me today? Like, as far as, well, they'd be very proud of me. I think very proud of all the work and the persisting, consistency and just pushing through to have
Mm,
that life that I visualized for so long. I think she'd be very happy that I didn't stop, that I kept going and that I continued to keep going, even if it's hard, it continues to be hard. I'm still healing different things. We never stop fully healing. I think we always have things to work on. So I think she'd be proud.
yeah, I was asked this yesterday, and what came to mind was the line from The Wizard of Oz. And the line is, uh, the power was always within you. You just had to remember it,
Exactly. Oh my
right?
gosh. Oh yeah. We completely have the power. We have a pharmacy inside. This is what I want people to know. We have an actual internal pharmacy, a
Mhm.
natural pharmacy inside of to heal everything. And I want to say this, like I want everyone to know, regardless of what's going on outside, because we're bombarded by so much right now with the food, the air, the water. We have everything inside to actually heal ourselves, regardless of external circumstances. Because there's so much fear right now. I see with everybody, clients, they're scared of the food, they're scared of everything. We have the power to actually heal regardless of how toxic everything is. So this is very empowering for us to know this, that we have this power. Like you just said, we've always had the power. We just didn't know. So we're finally knowing, we're finally learning
Yeah,
that we have. It's very
exactly.
exciting. It's actually a very exciting time to be alive, as crazy as that may sound to some people. This knowledge we have.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, one thing comes to mind, and someone mentioned this to me, is that no matter how much darkness there is, or how much darkness you're in, and this reminds me of you, given your history and everything that you experienced, they said that there's actually no switch for darkness, but there is for light,
Right. It's so
right?
true. It's so
Isn't
true.
it true?
It's so true. And we're all light beings, and we just have to find that light. And it sounds like whatever, but no, it's a real thing. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the work. I'm so grateful that I can share it. And like I said, just empower. It's all about empowering ourselves and living this life. We're
I
meant
think
to enjoy life. Like we forget we're actually here to enjoy. Well, let's
yes.
let's enjoy. Let's dance. Let's freaking, like touch some nature. I just want that's what I want. That's what I want for everyone to do, just to remember that in their day. Be like, "Oh yeah, Amira said like touch this leaf, touch this tree, dance, I don't know, just little things like that. Just a reminder. Like don't
Yeah,
forget.
and I think your story is gonna inspire a lot of people. I mean, to go through 30 years of headaches and chronic illness, and to be where you are now, wanting to be in the light and dancing and sharing your story and empowering others, I think it'll give people more than just hope, but belief. Belief that they can do it because you believed in yourself. And if you can do it, others too.
I would love that. I would love nothing more than that. That's why I do what I do. That will make everything worth it. Makes all those 30 years worth it.
Amazing.
you know.
I want to thank you for joining me today and
Thank
sharing
you,
your
Farhan.
story. Yeah, I know this will help a lot of people. I will have your contact information in the description for anyone that wants to connect with you, follow your journey, or is interested in working with you. If you ever write a book, please let me know. I'd love, to
Yes.
read your story. And my prayer for you is that you always continue to remember the power that is within you. May you always be healthy. May you always be joyful. May that part of you that always wants to dance live loud and strong. And may you continue to be the light that you are and radiate it into the lives of others, to instill in them the empowerment of the idea that if you can do it, they can too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Farhan. This has been so great. Thank you. And I wish all the same for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm Farhan Dalla. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's episode of Elevate Your Life, a transformational podcast. I hope today's conversation has elevated you in some way and inspired you to connect, move, and meditate. I'd really appreciate your support by following and rating this podcast. Come back soon and join me for another transformative conversation.